So I'm joined by Rio Rocket, television, film, and voice actor. Rio, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
Now, my understanding is that when you were growing up, you played like 5 different instruments. Is that right?
Oh, yes, I did. Interesting you brought that up. In order was acoustic guitar. We had an upright piano in my home. I learned to play in school in a band, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, and baritone horn, which is like a straight horn tuba. Yeah.
That's incredible. I think I played the violin and the alto saxophone, and mostly what I did was really annoy the heck out of my family. Once you're able to competently play all these instruments, how did you just kind of have it in you DNA-wise, or did you just have a knack for music? What was it?
Well, I did. I was very involved in music, and my family, we listened to a ton of music growing up, many different genres. So I grew up very eclectic. I listened to, R&B, rock, hip hop, of course. I grew up in the birth of modern hip hop and its huge popularity. And so just listening to music, you kind of, inside, you have the yearning to want to compose music yourself and get involved that way.
Well, actually, what you just said is actually counter to what everybody else experiences, which is if they want to consume and listen, but they don't necessarily have the talent or the inclination to produce. So you're already at an early age showed inclination to do something that was exceptionally different.
Yes.
Transition to talk about, you started out your career as a graphic artist and a web developer, but yet you transitioned to film, entertainment, and television, and voice. So how did that all come about?
Okay, so I was born an artist. Essentially, I could draw before I could read and write. So as I got older, everything pulled me into becoming a graphic artist. I went to school, became degreed, and after some time went on in my life, I just needed a new challenge. And there was an animated television series, Samurai Jack, back in the day. Genndy Tartakovsky is the creator, and it aired on Cartoon Network. And there was talk of a animated film. The villain, the antagonist, Aku is his name, was voiced over by 90-plus-year-old man, Japanese man, Mako. And the actor passed away, I believe, in 2006. So I saw a casting call, and I said, I always did voices growing up. I was always into animation, cartoons, superheroes, comics. And I said, I can do Aku spot on. This is it. I'm going to get this part. Well, the project got canceled, and I told a friend about it, and she was a radio DJ here in New York, and she said, I didn't even know you did voices. And we had a phone call. She made me do every single voice I could possibly do. And she put me in touch with another colleague of hers, G. Keith Alexander, who was a radio host of 92 KTU and became a voice actor. And I took lessons through him, and that sort of brought me into the acting arena.
All right, before we go any further, I just know the minds of the listeners, which is that they want to hear some examples of some of the things I actually do. So give us your best.
You put me on the spot, but
yeah,
I give you Gandalf the Grey from The Hobbit. Enough! If I say Bilbo Baggins is a burglar, then a burglar he is. I do so many. I'm doing my favorites, of course. It was a film, Beowulf. It was an animated film. There's a speech, where he fights Grendel, the monster that's after him, and he says, I am Ripper, Tearer, Slasher, Gouger. I am the teeth in the darkness, the talons in the night. I am strength, lust, and power. I am Beowulf.
Wow.
So, and I do women, I do babies. I mean, it just depends on what it calls for.
All right, let's do a baby while we're at it.
Baby. I'll do a small diminutive character. So, I can go really high, I can go really low.
That's amazing. That's well. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
giving us a little taste of your spectrum. Really, it's quite amazing actually.
Thanks.
So you start to kind of go into some of the biggest influences in your life as well as some of the coaches. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about them and how did each of them affect you and the skills that you developed over the years.
Right. So in the beginning, G. Keith Alexander, I hired him as a personal acting coach. I took one-on-one lessons with him. He essentially taught me acting one-on-one and how to read a commercial script and just what the voice acting industry was all about. And if you want to transition into other things, such as becoming a VOG, a voice of God, for say college commencements, have a voice of God. It's the announcer. Usually off stage, the Oscars has a voice of God where they introduce the people who come to the podium. And he said, if you want to continue further, maybe go in front of the camera. That's something else you can explore. But for right now, you don't have to worry about what you look like or how you dress or your appearance. Just focus on, breaking down a script and learning how to deliver it. I simultaneously took another voice acting class in person in the city with Ed Lewis of Shut Up and Talk. And he's been a director over 15 years. It's that hyperbolic audio. It's where they recorded Dora the Explorer. So I took those classes at the same time, and someone suggested I should go before a camera. I should give it a shot. And I said, oh, no, I'm not that, Hollywood celebrity. That's not me. And they said, no, look, you just be yourself. It's just about being yourself. And, if you see some of the people on TV and film, everyone's you don't have to be beautiful. You just have to be relatable and confident. And so I took improv at the Pit with Taryn Sterry. She was amazing. And then I moved on to study the Meisner technique with Alan Gordon, and which basically just focuses on connecting with your partner, concentration, and practicing what's called public isolation. So public isolation, for those who don't know, essentially what we have at home is private isolation. We comb our hair, we brush our teeth very naturally because there's no one watching us. Well, when you're in front of a camera, people have tendencies to exaggerate things. So they'll comb their hair in an exaggerated way because they feel like there's an audience, there's cameras on them. Well, public isolation is pretending there's no one around and performing things the natural, organic way, as if you were home alone. So that led me up to where I am today and being able to do something I really love.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Let me start with my first question related to that is, as you learn some of these methods and approaches, is there like one or two kind of techniques or advice that you give to others that are interested or aspiring to be in the voice over industry?
I would say learn how to read and deliver a commercial script. And one of the most important lessons is that don't give them what they ask for, give them authentically who you are. And some of the most successful actors actually don't go too far away from who they are. Tom Hanks is an incredible example. Tom Hanks is just Tom Hanks in every movie with a different costume on. He doesn't overact. He doesn't exaggerate anything. He's just himself in different situations. So it's learning how to become comfortable in different situations, not imitating some celebrity they wrote in the notes. Oh, we're looking for Samuel Jackson or, Nicole Kidman. Don't imitate other celebrities. Don't imitate other voices you've heard for similar spots. Speak naturally, be yourself, and learn to accept that you're a lot more interesting than you think you are.
So that is a hugely powerful statement, especially in this time of social media. And I know you have a very large social media following where people do aspire to look like that influencer or that Instagram model or celebrity. Mm-hmm. So here your advice is get in tune with yourself, be more comfortable, just like you're comfortable at home. Learn to be comfortable outside, and whether it's in the context of movie making, work, or whatever it is, the more you can be in tune with yourself and more authentic with yourself, the more effective you are. And I think that's something that is really, really interesting, which many people may not believe, which is that every one of us, there's something about us that's not only unique, but interesting.
Yeah, every one of us. It's precisely the point. And acting is about discovery, and you learn a lot of things about yourself through acting, and especially when you take improvisation, which is just getting deep down to the core of who you are. You don't even have to be an actor to take improv. I suggest everyone go out there, take an improv class, and just learn to open yourself up and get to know yourself a lot better.
Wow, I'm so impacted by this. By the way, one of the things that I challenged myself earlier this year was to take an acting class, not because I have aspiration of going to the television or film industry per se, but I just wanted to be more natural on stage. So I really enjoy what you're saying, and I like the fact that the more you can actually center yourself and be grounded, it just kind of comes out naturally. And I think that's what people want. They want to connect with the real person behind the lens, right? Now I want to talk about maybe through the years of work that you've done, there's got to be some really interesting stories on these sets. Do you have any one or two stories that you can share that just kind of highlight some of the interesting things that's happening behind the scenes? All right, so we're back, and just for the audience, I asked the question to Rio, and there was dead silence. So I thought for sure that my question must have offended Rio. Sure enough, I didn't hear from him for 10 minutes. But so what happened, Rio?
Okay, essentially, I just had too much plugged into one outlet without a power circuit here, power strip here. So everything just shut off at once. The power tripped. I had to reboot and call you back, but I'm here. I've returned.
Thank you, Rio. And this is exactly what we were talking about before we got interrupted, is that sometimes, we have to be authentic, and sometimes the truth is actually much more compelling than what we're trying to hide behind. So thank you for that. And I think I personally found that to be kind of comical, but thank you for coming back. So the next segment that I want to talk a little bit about is, we talked a little bit about your career, and of course, you've also guest appeared on many different films as well. Maybe you could talk a little about some of the highlights of your film career.
When it comes to film, I really love film. I just completed a super cool vampire film in which I play a vampire hunter, similar to Blade, but much more relatable and great sense of humor. But I've had, outside of film, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of really unique things. Lowe's Home Improvement hired me this year to do a motivational spot for them, four of them actually. And so they had never done it before. So here, it's this billion-dollar company, and they're hiring me, first motivational speaker ever, to do a spot for them. And I'm just like, wow, this is why I got involved in acting, because it's those new experiences were really helping me learn a lot about myself. And I'm a very confident person, but it's rewarding when other people see value in you and want to work with you and just share a little bit about what's going on in their organization and just see how you can help out.
I think that's a great message. It's amazing how you refine your art, your craft, and people see the value of that. And the thing is, as I'm communicating with you, you come across in a really, like I said, a very authentic, accessible manner, and it just builds that trust. And I think that's what people are looking for. So I'm so glad to hear that your motivational speaking career is taking off, as well as other things. Now, on top of everything else, you're also very much into health and fitness as well. So tell me about some of the things that you do to stay on top of your game.
Well, I was always into health and fitness, and as far as exercising, I like to sort of focus on functional muscle, functional strength, and endurance. So I don't just lift weights. I do a lot of outdoor running, calisthenics, isometrics, plyometrics, jumping exercises, HIIT training, short bursts, going really fast and then going slow, things that create muscle confusion and also just help build your mental fortitude. Of course, you don't want to waste away a great workout with a poor diet. So my diet has evolved over the years, but currently for the past 3 years, what I do is intermittent fasting. And I'm sure many people have heard about it by now, but for those that are not familiar, essentially you go for a given period of time without eating, say about 18 hours, and then within a very short window, you eat your calories, which would be 6 hours, which is the remaining number of hours in a 24-hour cycle.
And what is the benefit of that?
What it does is, we were designed a long time ago to simply go out, hunt, eat whatever we gathered, collected, or killed, and then go to sleep and start all over again. So our bodies, we didn't have refrigerators. Our bodies weren't designed to eat leftovers the next morning. Even today, lions don't, go in the refrigerator and pull out leftovers. They don't graze all day. So it sort of takes your body back to something that's long forgotten. Your HGH levels reportedly build up. There's all kinds of claims. But one thing you do notice, it makes you very mentally acute because you're in survival mode. And so I've worked my way up to the point where I just eat one meal a day and I'm fine with that. And every maybe 4 days, you kind of want to come off that and just eat all day, eat maybe 4 or 5 meals. It's called refeeding. You're just supplementing whatever nutrients your body may not be getting during the fasting days.
Wow, this is fascinating. It really is. And by the way, as you were talking about your exercise regime, I'm sure for some of the listeners, they're probably thinking that's exhausting. But clearly the results are there, and for you, it's been working. For me, I'm in my mid-40s. I'm working on my second-degree black belt, and a lot of the workout, I find that it's not just kicking and punching. It's a lot of what you're talking about, and every day, every exercise is different, and it's hitting different bits and pieces of it, and it's shocking my body into essentially growth and stamina. Yeah. I really like your advice about fasting, and I think it has a couple of implications. One is that our body is constantly working. It's just it's overtime, and you allow for the body to recuperate and get some of the toxins out to kind of baseline itself. So that's one piece. But the other side of it is that it gets at the heart of our general consumption mindset. And this transitions to our topic around climate change, which is how we live, what we eat, how we travel. All of these things have an impact to the broader environment. So what's your thought about climate change and why it's so important for us to consider?
Well, we do. We consume a lot. We consume and output a lot of energy, products, things that are packaged and wrapped in plastic, which doesn't break down well. And there's evidence, scientists do agree that human activity is negatively impacting the weather, the climate, or at least patterns, the overall patterns. If you average out, the number of warm days and the average temperature within one day, I believe 2015 was it was the hottest recorded year ever in history. And so, I just think that we have to worry more about what we consume and where we place whatever we consume was wrapped in afterward. We have to really be conscious about that. I just had an audition today for Primatene. Primatene Mist was an inhaler that was taken off the market back in 2011. I literally just got back from the audition this morning. They re-released it on the market because the original inhaler contained chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, which were depleting the ozone layer. And I think the Clean Air Act of 1990 basically was an international agreement that we can't, aerosol spray, epinephrine inhalers, and chlorofluorocarbon inhalers were all negatively affecting the atmosphere. And I think now they're called HFCs, and they're a little bit safer. So just conscious acts, you know, from organizations, committees, and large corporations are definitely where we have to come back to and being more mindful about the consequences of our actions.
Yeah, you make a great point, which is that there is individual responsibility, there is corporate responsibility, and there's also public sector responsibility. And it really requires a partnership between all the different types of entities to come together to solve this, because this isn't something that one person or one entity can solve. It really requires the arm-to-arm collective action of everyone that's involved. I really appreciate what you're saying. And the last point about climate change, and we'll get back onto your career, is that just like what you were talking about is when, companies should not wait for regulatory compliance to intervene and say, you can't do this or you can't do that, or for customers to say on Twitter or Instagram saying, hey, what you're doing is not right. I think we need to be able to convey to corporations in particular that they need to take responsibility for the broader area called ESG, which is around environment, the sustainability and the governance, and making sure that everything from manufacturing to the supply chain and distribution takes into account the impacts it's having to our environment, to our ecology. So thank you so much for that message. Now, tell us about what are some exciting projects that's coming up in the next few months or the next year or so.
Next Tuesday is the Katra Film Festival Summer Series. So the Katra Film Series is essentially a local film festival in downtown Brooklyn. I'm the host. I co-hosted along with my acting partner, Irene Jean Santos. And we screen films from underrepresented communities out there, Latinx, LGBTQIA, Asian filmmakers, Pacific Islanders, African American, anyone who just may not have the same level of visibility and representation in the larger productions. And so we bring these films in, we screen them, we announce a winner, and at the end of the year, we sort of have like the grand finale, in which they win prizes, they win a session with whoever the director is or the organization that we can gain sponsorship from that year. So it's a really exciting event that I look forward to hosting. We do it quarterly. So that's next on the menu. I'm also working on a cooking show in which I'm unable to disclose any details besides the fact that I'm working on a cooking show, and there has been a pilot that was filmed.
Well, I'm so glad that you're working on something really meaningful that affects, segments of the population, frankly, that are just underrepresented in the industry. Thank you so much for that. And good luck, best of luck with this secret cooking show. I hope everything goes well.
Thank you.
For those that want to follow you, where can they find you on social media?
I'm very active on Instagram. It's at the Rio Rocket, THE, and my name, RIO, ROCKET. You can find me on Instagram, and my Instagram will lead you to my YouTube, my Vimeo, where you can see longer videos that go over the 60-second limit on Instagram, and that's pretty much where I'm at. If it's a personal thing, LinkedIn is a good place to connect with me, or just contact me through my website. If there's anything you want to share with me or collaborate with me. And other than that, you can see me on the screen, TV, maybe Netflix soon, the silver screen, and in a few live events, Katra Film Series, notably.
Well, today I've been joined by Rio Rocket's television, film, and voice actor, and just a terrific human being. So please support him. And Rio, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Scott. I truly appreciate your time. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.